We good, Les?
Very good.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ree Wackett. I am the Senior Business Advisor at the Small Business Development Center at Stony Brook University. We are joined today by our Center Administrator, Leslie Rora, who will be answering, or she'll be fielding questions in the chat. And then as you have questions, you can drop them in the chat. She's waving. You can drop them in the chat, and every slide or two, I will be answering those questions. So Leslie's joined us. I think Keisha has joined us as well. Keisha Butler, she's our office manager. And I'm not sure who else is here. I think I saw Bob Harrison, who is a fellow advisor here at the Stony Brook University Small Business Development Center. I think I saw him as well. So there's a few of us in here. So and we're very happy that you joined us this morning. So before I get started, I just want to let everyone know that this is being recorded, and Leslie, they'll have access to this at a later date if they want to review anything. She's nodding, so that's a yes. So that's great. So the Small Business Development Center at Stony Brook University is a joint venture between the SBA, which is a federal agency devoted to assisting small businesses, and State University of New York, or SUNY, to provide technical assistance to small businesses. That comes in the form at the very core of our services with our one-on-one small business counseling. But it also includes workshops such as this one. It'll include other workshops given by other advisors, other members of our staff, as well as experts in their field on a variety of different topics related to small business. Our one-on-one counseling is complimentary. We are a public-facing agency and a publicly funded agency, so tax dollars pay for our existence. So please utilize us and feel free to make an appointment. At the conclusion of this workshop, you'll get the contact information to follow up to do so. And we're here for as long as you need us. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Also, this workshop typically does not go the full 90 minutes. It does when it's given in person because of questions, so on and so forth. We have a medium-sized group. We have a little over 30 people. I will be here until 10:30 for as long as anybody else is here. And if you have any questions or wanted any clarification on anything that was covered, I will be here. But this usually goes, the content itself usually goes about an hour. So from a time perspective, I want to be cognizant and respectful of your time. So just know that moving forward. So we're going to do a talk today on business basics, getting started in your small business. Okay. So kind of went over all this stuff, who we are, where are we? We're located at Stony Brook University. We also have an outreach center in what was formerly the Stony Brook Southampton campus. So we have an outreach center out there as well. But we can really meet you where you are. The vast majority of our counseling is done via Zoom now. We are starting to filter back into having people come to our office and get advised in person. Obviously, if that's your preference, we can accommodate that. But the vast majority of our counseling is done via Zoom. Kind of went over what we did. But specifically, we can help you at the outset of your business with startup implications. If you need a business plan, a marketing plan, you need assistance with legal business distinctions, how to register your business, if you need licenses, all of those things I'm going to cover this morning. But we can also help you in your growth phase. So if you need perhaps a loan for a location or for expansion, for additional inventory, or to hire more staff, we can help you really at any phase from inception to growth, to perhaps you get to a point where you want to sell your business. We can help with that too. Anybody can use these services. I already reviewed that we are public facing and public funded agency, so there's no cost for our services. And as I mentioned before, we're here for as long as you need us. So whenever I meet an entrepreneur for the first time, my first question is why? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Is it because you have a passion for something that you want to bring to the marketplace? Is it because maybe you were recently downsized or your job was outsourced and you're becoming an entrepreneur by necessity? There's no necessarily right or wrong answers to that question, but a self-assessment is a good thing to determine how you're going to move forward. What do you hope to achieve? Is this going to be your primary source of income? Or is this, as the, Gen Z says, is this going to be your side hustle or your side gig? How much time are you willing to commit? What problem? So when I teach entrepreneurship, we talk about entrepreneurs solving what's called like a pain being something that's out there that's not being there's no remedy for this pain, or there's no remedy for this hole in the marketplace. So if there's something out there that's a pain and nobody's assuaging that pain or taking care of it, how are you going to make this pain go away? How are you going to fill this gap in the marketplace with the commodity or product or whatever service that you're going to offer? And what makes you qualified to start a company? This is sort of a self-assessment that I'll go over with the client once I'm sitting down with them, either via Zoom like this, or if they come to my office. So these are sort of things you want to think through as you're engaging in this sort of self-assessment, looking at these several questions. So I would imagine there's no questions so far. Les, are there any thus far?
No, not yet.
Okay. So this one slide, the legal business forms, these are all as they relate to New York State. So everything that I'm going to talk about is as could be filed in the state of New York. This one slide could take up 3 hours. So I'm going to give you an overview of each of these legal business distinctions. So to start with the first two, the simplest, easiest way to start a business in the state of New York is to file either as a sole proprietorship, which is meaning for one person, or a partnership which is 2 or more people. Both sole proprietorships and general partnerships are filed in the county in which the business resides. So if your business is home-based, your business is based at your home address. If it's in Suffolk County, the business is Suffolk County based. If it's Nassau County, it's Nassau County based. The vast majority of our clients we see are from one of the 2 counties in Long Island. You file a form with, it's called a DBA, or doing business form, with the county clerk in the county in which the business resides. So that would either be Riverhead for Suffolk County, or that would be Mineola if it's Nassau County. It's $35 to file a DBA, or doing business as form. And as long as you're within the rules and regulations of running a business of that type, you are legally in business that day. So what does that mean? Can you hang your shingle? Yes, as long as you're licensed to do so. We're going to go over licenses and permits later in this workshop. So you've registered your sole proprietorship as one person, or a partnership if you have a partner or one or more partners. You hung your shingle. Tax time, what happens? So as a sole proprietorship or general partnership, you are a legal extension of yourself as an individual. So Leslie Rurup, use Leslie as an example. So Leslie Rurup, who is maybe starting a business as, Leslie, give me a business idea. Anything.
Deli.
A deli? Okay. So Leslie Rurup is Leslie's Deli. So she files a DBA, or doing business as form, because she wants the name to be Leslie's Deli. She files it with the county clerk in Riverhead because she's going to be located in Stony Brook, right near campus, so we can all have her delicious food. So come tax time, what does that mean? She is going to file an attachment to her regular tax return. So as a sole proprietorship owning Leslie's Deli, she will file a Schedule C attachment to her regular tax return. If it's for 2 or more people, she'll file a 1065. So a legal extension of Leslie as an individual. Does that mean Leslie assumes all liability associated with the business? Yes. Because you and your business are legally one and the same, there's no sort of veil of liability between Leslie and Leslie's Deli. So if, heaven forbid, somebody sues Leslie, are her personal assets at risk? Yes, because it's a legal extension of Leslie as an individual. She can mitigate the risk that she's assuming as a sole proprietorship as the owner of Leslie's Deli by getting adequate business insurance, which I cannot stress strongly enough you should have business insurance regardless of which business type you take on. So this applies to either sole proprietorship or general partnership. Any questions on either of those? Because that in and of itself is a lot right there.
No one has asked, but anyone that has any questions, please type them into the
Drop
chat
them right in the
and
chat.
we'll get to them.
Thanks, Les. Okay, so that's the sole proprietorship and general partnership. Corporations and S corporations are recognized by the state of New York, and as such, they're filed with the state of New York. So if Leslie, instead of having a sole proprietorship, Leslie's Deli has a sole proprietorship, she wants to incorporate because she wants to legally separate herself from her business, which would be wise when you're dealing with food. So Leslie's going to file Leslie's Deli Incorporated. Leslie's Deli Incorporated gets filed with the New York State Department of State Division of Corporations. That is, Leslie's Deli is completely legally separate from Leslie Rupp as an individual. If ever any litigation ensues due to anything that happened with the deli, only the assets of the business are at risk. Come tax time, she will also file a completely separate tax return from her individual tax return. So for a regular corporation, she will file something called an IRS 1120 form. For an S corporation, she'll file what's called an 1120S. What is an S corp? So an S corporation is kind of a little bit of a hybrid between the sole proprietorship or general partnership and a corporation, in that, like a sole proprietorship or general partnership, you file as an individual. So you only pay individual taxes, but you have the liability protection of a corporation. So there are no corporate taxes or anything like that for an S corporation. There are with a regular corporation. S corporations are also limited to a finite number of shareholders, limited to 100 shareholders in the state of New York and 200 shares of common stock. So it's finite. You can have only a set number of shareholders or owners. With a regular corporation in New York State, you can be traded in the marketplace. You can have an infinite number of shareholders or owners. So you can be traded on one of the exchanges should you ever have an initial public offering or an IPO. But most small businesses that we deal with choose the S corporation because of that pass-through, because you only pay personal income tax based on however much income the business draws. And I believe there's 4 brackets now. So whichever of the 4 brackets your net income falls into is what you'll pay. A moment about taxes. So people often come, they're like, Ree, I'm really confused about the taxes and how much I have to pay and when I have to file and all that stuff. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have an accountant on your team when you're starting a business. But an overview of the taxes you're going to pay is most of you are going to file calendar year. So you'll file at the end, excuse me, at the end of the calendar year, meaning you'll start January 1 and you'll end December 31. Some people go on a fiscal year and they can choose their year. That's a good question for your accountant. But most small businesses will go calendar year, and taxes are due just like your personal taxes. They're due on April 15th. So how much do you pay for taxes? So at the end of the year, you will determine how much income or sales the business draws. So that number, let's say Leslie's Deli sells $1 million. She has $1 million in sales. So those are her gross sales. That's how much she sold over the year. But her expenses and deductions totaled $800,000. So those were her expenses and her deductions for $800,000 that she can deduct from her gross sales of $1 million. What's left? You take the $1 million in gross sales versus the $800,000 that was expensed out. Her net sales were $200,000. That is what she's getting taxed on. So you get taxed on your net sales. Now, if you are an S corporation, you're going to be taxed at the individual rate, excuse me. If she's a regular corporation, she'll be taxed at a corporate rate and then taxed as an individual rate as a shareholder is done. Any questions on that? That I know most people have questions with because there's a lot in there.
Oh, yes. Ashley is asking, is it possible to grow from an S Corp to a corporation or an LLC as the same business entity? And
You-
also, is it possible to change a business legal form downwards, like from an LLC to an S corp?
I'll go over the LLC in a minute, but the answer is yes. From a S corporation to a regular corporation, or if you want to make it smaller and go downward. I don't know why you'd want to do that, because having a corporation allows you the liability protection, and you still get to file, especially as an S, at the personal rate. Could you do it? Absolutely. I don't see a huge benefit. Going from an S corp to a regular corp or an LLC, I could see why one would do that, because you can be IPO'd. You could go public. Any other questions?
No, there
Okay,
aren't.
super. With the corporation, be it S or regular corporation, again, you file with the New York State Department of State Division of Corporations. You can file these on your own. We at the Small Business Development Center do recommend you have a professional assist you. I tell most folks to go to their accountant, because it's somebody you're going to have on your team anyway. The fee to the state alone for the corporation or S corporation is a little over $300. It's about $325. But an accountant will file everything for you for about $500. So figure you're getting about $200 for peace of mind to know it's done correctly. And when your accountant files for you, he or she will create your corporate kit, which will include, I'd mentioned the stocks. So your stock certificates will be in there. There'll be a shareholders agreement. There'll be bylaws as well. This will be kind of a kit. It's like a big binder, one of those fancy looking legal binders. This will be something you'll maintain in perpetuity, that you may need to refer to as you grow. If you look for a loan at some point, a bank may ask for this documentation. If you ever go for any kind of government contracts, they may ask for that documentation. If you ever go for a government certification, they certainly will ask for that documentation. So having that professional, while there is an expense related to it, again, an accountant is somebody you're going to want on your team as you grow as an entrepreneur and as a business. It's a good idea to have them do that for you. And if you don't have one, it's a good way to get a relationship started with that professional. Lastly, the S corporation, it's not automatic. You'll file with the New York State Department of State. For a corporation, you'll file something called a certificate of incorporation. And then to get that S designation, you'll file something called an election. It's called an election for an S corporation. You'll file with the IRS and the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance in that order to get that designation as an S corporation. Okay, any other questions on that, Les?
No.
Okay, super. Okay, lastly, the last legal business distinction is the limited liability company or limited liability partnership. That is a true hybrid between the sole proprietorship or partnership and a corporation. Hybrid because, like a corporation, you have that veil of liability, meaning if somebody sues you, they're suing the assets of the corporation. So going back to Leslie's Deli, Leslie's Deli LLC, if somebody sues it, they're only suing the assets of the LLC. They're not suing our friend Leslie or personally. But like the sole proprietorship or general partnership, it is simpler come tax time. It's a more elegant structure in that you file an attachment to your regular tax return rather than filing a completely separate return. You'll file something called a K-1. So brevity is kind of the name of the game with the LLC. You also don't have that corporate kit with the stock certificates, the shareholders agreement, the minutes that I had mentioned. You don't maintain that with an LLC or LLP. You'll have an LLC or LLP operating agreement to maintain, and that is it. However, there is a special filing requirement with an LLC or LLP that doesn't exist with a corporation, and that is, and bear with me, it's kind of a very arcane New York State rule whereby you file the name of the LLC or LLP in 2 newspapers in the town in which the LLC resides for 6 successive weeks in the public notices section. You have 180 days from filing your LLC or LLP to get this done. And that fee and the fee to the state to file your LLC usually totals around $600 to $750 because there is a filing fee associated just with the LLC or the LLP. Also goes to New York State Department of State Division of Corporations, just like the corporation. But then the fee to the newspapers is additional. So if you have your, going back to your professional that you can have in your team, your accountant filing for you, that total fee would be about $1,000. So it's roughly double the cost of a corporation. But just know the fee to the state and for the newspapers alone is about $600 to $750. So you're paying a few $100s, a couple hundred to a few $100s to a professional to know that it is filed correctly. And by the way, the cost for those accounting services or legal services, if you use an attorney to file for you, those are deductible as well. So that whole thing could have taken just this one page if I went over the intricacies, all of them, if I reviewed all the documentation and showed you the different forms of filing come tax time. This could have taken an entire morning, but this is simply meant to give you an overview, to give you a sampling of the different legal business types as you go on and think about starting your own business. So you have a little bit of information moving forward. And, when you come see us, you'll have a better idea of which way you think you want to go. And then we can advise you a little bit further from here. So any questions on the LLC, LLP, or any of the other legal business distinctions I reviewed on this slide, because I know it is a plethora of information.
Yes. Deb wants you to reiterate, how long do you need to file the newspaper ad for?
It's okay. Great question. So it needs to be in the public notices section for 6 successive weeks. And if you need to know what publications they could be in, it varies by township because it has to be in the town. There are newspapers that can be used countywide, like Newsday. However, that's more expensive. If you need a listing of those newspapers, you come see us and we'll advise you further. But six weeks in a row. In two publications.
And Angela would like to know what specifically is the benefit of an LLC over an S Corp. And Manny,
Great
I'll answer
question.
your question too.
Great question. Brevity. The LLC or LLP has that LLC operating agreement to maintain over time, and that's it. Come tax time, you file an attachment to your regular tax return versus filing a completely separate return as a corporation. You'll file a K-1 as an LLC versus an 1120S as a corporation. So it is a legally simpler business type. It can also be publicly traded, unlike an S corporation. People ask me all the time, which one should I do? Should I do an S corp? Should I do an LLC, LLP? It really depends on the needs of your business. I personally was an entrepreneur in the past. And when I had a business, I had an S corporation because at the time when I was starting my business, it was just cheaper and simpler. And I knew I wasn't going to ever have an IPO because it was just me. So that's what I did. But different businesses have different needs, and we can advise you when you come to see us to select the one that makes the most sense for your business and the sector that you're in and the marketplace that you're going to.
Now, Ree, you didn't say that the corporation needs to do the posting, doesn't need the advertising, correct?
Corporation does not, only the LLC.
And can a corporation be used as a holding entity for other businesses? I recognize where this is going.
Yes, it can. And it often is, especially for real estate.
Now we're getting into that other ugly question. What is your opinion on
No ugly
using
question.
Oh, yes. What is your opinion on using a registered agent to form the LLC? They're
Okay.
based in Albany, where they place the newspaper notices at a lower rate.
They can be registered agents are located all throughout the state. So this is why this one slide can take up to 3 hours. So what I didn't go over, because we're getting a little bit in the weeds, but I'm going to answer the question because it came up because we have some very knowledgeable students today. So what a registered agent is somebody who will do the filing for the corporation, the LLC for you. So you don't have to publicly disclose your address. Your registered agent will also be the person that collects your mail and forwards it to you. My opinion on using a registered agent, Some businesses will have the need to use a registered agent depending on the necessity for them to maintain anonymity or confidentiality. Again, this is something that we can review further when they come in to see either myself or one of the other business advisors at the Small Business Development Center. But it can make sense for people. Registered agents, like Leslie said, could be located up in Albany. But they could really be located anywhere throughout the state. The most of them, however, you are correct, Leslie. Albany has the most number of registered agents. Albany County has the most number of registered agents in New York State. So can you get one to file for you and do all this for you and publicly disclose, use their address for your mailing? Absolutely. Do you want to? Maybe. It depends on the business that you're going into.
Now Manny is asking, do the sub-entities need to follow the same incorporation rules? And would the parent corporation effectively own the shares of the sub-businesses? Ree, I think we found our next workshop, right?
So a sub business, so you said if Mandy asked the question, the student's name is Mandy?
Manny, yes.
Oh, Mandy. So maybe she can unmute. What does she mean by sub businesses? She mean by assumed name?
Manny
Assumed
B,
name within a corporation? She can
right.
unmute.
Manny B, go ahead and unmute, please.
Yeah, so if there's like a holding corporation and there's going to be like additional entities, so let's say I wanted to start like a restaurant collective, right? So
Okay.
I'm opening restaurants in like multiple locations and I want them all to operate as separate entities, but to have all of that roll into like one larger entity at the top, like would
Mhm.
all of those sub businesses have to be independently registered as corporations, and then would the holding corporation effectively hold all the shares?
Yeah, they could, yes. But are you thinking about going to food service?
Potentially.
Okay. If food service with separate locations, especially if those separate locations are also going to own property, I wouldn't recommend putting them on into one holding company. I'd recommend keeping them separately just for liability purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Because Manny, the thing is if you have the separate ones and then the holding one, then you have liability in two places rather than one.
I see. Got it. That makes sense.
I hope that answers your question.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome.
And Angela would like to know, do you have to publicly print your street address, or can you use a PO box? Because what if you're starting from home?
You can use a PO box, but I don't recommend using a PO box. I recommend instead using maybe a UPS store or any other place where mailboxes can be held where you can get your mail and or packages. Because when you do that, you actually use their street address and you could use box or suite. I don't love using PO boxes because sometimes businesses that are in industries that are unsavory or secretive for whatever reason and or deemed fly by night or here today, gone tomorrow. People are often suspicious when they don't know where the physical location of the place is. So rather than a PO box, I'm a bigger fan of using a box at like UPS store or any other places where you can get your mail. I would do that instead.
And what if their LLC is registered in Delaware, but they're doing business in New York? Do they still need to do the advertisement in the newspaper?
They do not. However, if you registered in Delaware as an LLC or a corporation for that matter, and you're doing business in New York, you do have to register as a foreign corporation in New York State.
And our very own Bob Harrison would like to know, he recently heard from a real estate expert that residential rental property should always be owned by an LLC for liability protection. He had originally thought that was the $1 million umbrella policy would be sufficient, but maybe the double layer is needed now. He's asking you to please share your thoughts.
Well, we don't deal with speculative real estate. That's one of the excluded industries that we don't work with. So I'm actually not very knowledgeable on that. And by the way, hi Bob. I would recommend that he go back to the person that told him that and ask for the information where they found it. They found it in a real estate journal or they found from an association that they belong to. But since we don't work with speculative real estate, I'm not knowledgeable. So I'm sorry, I can't answer that, but I could find out for him, or if he could go back to the individual that gave him that information. And if he could actually share it with all of us, I'd like to know the answer to that question as well. But I'm sorry, Bob, I don't know the answer to that question. And any other questions? Oh, I think we might have lost Leslie.
Yes, I'm gonna fill in for her.
Okay, hey Keisha.
Hi.
This is Keisha Butler. She's our office manager. So I think she's fielding questions because Leslie probably had to be pulled away.
Yes. She'll return shortly.
So Keisha, are there any other questions?
No, that's, I mean, so far that's, and Bob was the last one that I
Okay.
see.
All right, perfect. Great. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. So defining your business. So what I'm setting this up for is for all of you to write a business plan. So what a business plan will do broadly will help you set your vision, plan for your business, and determine whether your business is feasible, meaning, is it possible? Can it happen? Is it viable? Is it going to make business? And is it desirable? Is it something that people want? You know, I have people coming to me, they're like, Ree, I don't know. I don't know if there's a marketplace for my business. Is this going to sell? Well, we have to determine, okay, is this possible? Can you do this? And will people want it? And I always tell my entrepreneurs that I work with, or if it's students that I'm lecturing to, somebody marketed a pet rock. Somebody marketed a rock that people paid for. Now, could I go into my backyard and get a rock and paint a face on it and say, this is my pet? Sure. But people, anybody could do that. But people, for some reason, determined that there was a value, that buying a pet rock was a valuable, viable, and desirable thing. So, you know, if you think there's something that you can sell, come in and see us, put a business plan together. Let's determine if it's something that's going to make sense. The most important thing is to determine, is there a market and how you're going to reach out to them? That's all going to be something that's going to be discussed among other things in your business plan. So every single one of you, as you work on your businesses, some of you may already done this, have started a business plan. So it's a working document that's going to explore all these different issues, including describing exactly the business that you're in, the history of the business. If there's no history of the business, you're going to talk about your personal history, your background, your skill sets, your education, your experience that you're going to leverage that's going to allow this business to become very successful. You also include the legal business type that you're choosing in here. The commodities or products or services that you're bringing into the marketplace, you're going to describe them here as well. Your marketing plan. This goes back to the desirability. How are you going to promote the business so that people know that, hey, Leslie's Deli is in business. How are they going to get to her? How are they going to know? Is she going to have a very robust social media push? Is she going to use more traditional forms of marketing to advertise and promote her business? Then you'll have a section devoted to management and operations. That's going to be kind of who's going to run the business, who's going to operate the business, what the logistics are going to look like. And then lastly, putting together your budget for your business, and then financial projections if you're looking for a loan. And on that last one with the financial projections, just so all of the attendees, the students here this morning know that that is something that we do at the Small Business Development Center. I actually really like putting together financial projections for the entrepreneurs that I work with. And the bank's going to ask for that, and you don't have to pay your accountant to do it for you. I'd be happy to do it for you. What will happen is we'll sit down and talk about your income versus your expenses to determine how much of a loan you could even be eligible for, to look at what your repayment will look like. And then we'll go over a little bit about budgeting and financing in a later slide. But just know one of the services that we can offer as we assist you on your journey to being an entrepreneur and a business owner, so we can assist you with your financial projections. So any questions on those two slides?
Yes, we do have one from Julie. She said, during the first year of starting a business and LLC, mainly e-commerce, if you have more expenses than income by the end of the year, are there repercussions?
No. You're just losing money. So if you're losing money, you can't pay tax on a negative number. So no repercussions.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Keisha?
No, not right now.
Okay. So market planning, this, going
Oh,
back
wait.
to that,
We have one.
Yeah.
Is this slide deck going to be shared? Yes.
this one here?
Yes.
Yeah, what's the question?
Is this slide deck going to be shared? That's Angela. She asked what.
Oh, well, they'll get access to a recording, correct?
Yes.
So then, yes. Okay. So market planning. So this goes back when I was talking about defining your business. This is talking about the last bullet, the last point, the desirability. So you want to show the marketplace that you have something that's desirable. You have something that they're going to want. So in identifying your products and services, how are you going to advertise and promote them? So you're going to conduct some market research, and we can help you with any and all of this. In addition to the market research we as business advisors can do for you, we have access to a research network, which is a team of research librarians that work just for the small business development centers across New York State. We are one of 24 centers across New York State, and our research librarians work only for us. So if there is any market data that you might need that may require a subscription, a paid subscription, you don't want to pay for that, come to us, we can get it for you. In all likelihood, it's a subscription that we have access to. So if you're looking for industry trends, market data, demographic data, any of that information, we can absolutely help you get that. If I hit a brick wall, I will utilize the services of our research network. But in figuring out who your target market is, the best place to start is look at your potential competitors. Who's doing stuff that of similar size and scope to what you're hoping to do, and look at how they're marketing and promoting themselves. So the best place to start obviously is online. Take a look at their website, take a look at their socials. If they have brick and mortar, obviously go there. Take a look at the space. Is it clean? Is it dirty? What is their customer service like? We can help you create the marketing plan within your business plan. But if you take nothing else away from me today, there's 2 points I really want to hit on. You can market anything if it's marketed correctly. But you want to make sure that you're visible online to people. Even if you're not necessarily selling online, you want to absolutely 100% have a website. Every business should have a website, even if it's just a one-pager with a contact and information and that's it. You're going to hand people your business card and they're going to be like, oh, where's your website so I can check you out? You tell them you don't have one. They might, they might not want to go any further because everybody's going to sleuth. They're going to look for you online at your website, and they're going to look at your socials, obviously if you have socials. And then one thing about marketing and target market and figuring out who your market is I want to make a quick distinction. And this slide could also in and of itself take a few hours. I want to make the distinction between your customers and your end users when you're marketing and promoting your business. So your customers are the individuals or businesses. If you're a business to consumer, it's individuals. If you're business to business, it's other businesses. Or maybe you're business to government, you can sell your goods to the government. Your customers are people who pay for your commodity, your products or services. Your end users are the people who use them. So when you're marketing your business, you want to think about, okay, are we going to market Leslie's deli to her end users, or are they going to market to her customers? Well, in her situation, sometimes they could be the same people. Maybe she's marketing to the businesses and the campus of Stony Brook University. So she would advertise, maybe try to promote herself on socials so that Stony Brook University students and staff and faculty see it. The businesses around the area see it. Or, maybe, people who are going to utilize her services and pay for it. Maybe she wants to become a vendor with Stony Brook University and sell her delicious sandwiches to the student union every day. So now she's promoting herself with Stony Brook University procurement, who's her customer, but her end users are the students. So you want to make a distinction. simpler example, most people remember Saturday morning cartoons. There used to be a time in the 80s when I was in grade school where the only time cartoons were on was Saturday morning. There was no Cartoon Network, there were no Disney channels, nothing like that. So Saturday morning cartoons, there were advertisements for toys, fast food, sugary cereals. So here's little Ree, 8 years old, watching cartoons on Saturday morning. I certainly don't have American Express to go buy the Barbies that are being advertised to me, or to go buy Kellogg's Fruit Loops, or, whatever is being advertised to me. But I'm an end user. I'm going to be the person that uses it. So I, as an end user, see it and then go annoy my parents and say, hey, I saw this while I was watching whatever cartoon in the morning, and I really want this now. So that company was advertising to me and as an end user, and then I go try to influence my parents to do it. But you can also influence the parents by advertising in places where the parents would see those images, hear those images. Now, we didn't have social media then. Now we have social media. There's all different ways you can reach both the end users and the customers. But I just want entrepreneurs to know that you want to be able to make the distinction and reach out to each of them appropriately. Sometimes it's the same group of people or businesses or government. Sometimes it's not. So that distinction is really, really important. Okay, that was a lot. Any questions on any of that? Oh, Les is back.
Yes, Lavinia would like to know, do we offer services for balance sheet and profit and loss statements? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, we do. And I can create those projected ones for you, for your business.
Okay, we're good.
We're good? No questions on this? All right, awesome. Let's talk money. So every single one of you, as you are at the outset of your business at this point, is going to put together a startup budget. It's remarkably simple to put together. You're going to have your startup cost. That's going to be like the cost of, well, we're going to go with Leslie's Deli. That's going to be the cost of acquiring her space. So probably 2 to 3 months rent plus security. The cost of filing her LLC or corporation, because I'm going to advise her to do one of those two, because she's dealing with food and I want a legal separation for Leslie and Leslie's Deli. She'll also have her initial inventory, any kind of machinery or equipment that she's going to need. She'll probably need improvements made to the space, and she's going to need signage. So those are going to be included in her one-time or her startup costs. In addition to that, she's going to want 3 to 6 months worth of working capital, meaning 6 to 12 months worth of her operating expenses. What are those? Those are things like her rent or her mortgage, her utilities, her advertising, if she's using paid advertising, her payroll, and any kind of insurance policies she's carrying for the business. So basically, working capital 6 to 12 months for any kind of operating expense that she's going to pay on a regular basis, be it monthly, quarterly, whatever it is. So it's going to include some of those things. For many of you, there may be other things that are not, that I haven't mentioned, that you will acquire as an expense as an entrepreneur, but you want to make sure you have that sort of cushion for when cash isn't like flowing like super steadily, where it's just sort of like trickling in. So the sum of those two figures will equal your startup budget. Any questions on that?
No, we're good.
Okay. Okay. Just by people can raise their hands, and Leslie, you can tell me how many people raise their hands, but just by a show of people can put their hands up. How many folks are looking for financing for their venture? Unless you can tell me how many you see. I can't really see. I only see like a couple. Okay.
Oh no, there are quite a few.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing it now.
Wow, yes.
So looks like, okay, quite a few people. So a number of you are going to be looking for financing either now at inception or at some point during growth or expansion phase. So what the lenders are looking for are the 5, we call it the 5 C's: capacity, capital, collateral, conditions, and character. I'm going to actually start with character. That's the last one, and believe it or not, it's the most important one. That's going to be your background, your experience, your skill set, your education in the business that you're going into. And then secondly, and equally important, is your credit. Credit is really, really tight right now. Most banks will not even look at you if your credit is not over like a 680. So every one of you should have an idea of kind of what your credit is like. You can get it from your bank probably for free, just to get an idea of where your credit is, because there is a lot of fraud out there. So you want to know before you become a victim of fraud, to clear up anything before you go to that bank for financing. There are non-bank lenders that will work with folks with more compromised credit, but obviously the interest rate will be a little higher depending on, where your credit rating is. But we will definitely try to meet you where you are and find a lender that suits your needs. So character, meaning experience, background, skill sets, experience, and then credit, what your credit score is. The lender is going to go based on your personal credit score, because if it's business's startup, there hasn't been any credit established for the business yet. So they can only go by your personal credit. And just a note on the fraud thing. Fraud is really common. I was a victim of fraud and I had no idea until I checked my credit. So everybody check it, because there's people doing, bad things, and don't be a victim. Don't be caught surprised like I was. So definitely check it, because it does happen. Conditions is your business plan, which you're going to put together. We've reviewed it this morning. You're going to come and see one of us at the Small Business Development Center. We're going to help you put it together and create your financial projections. So it's going to be ready to go and be reviewed by the lending committee at your institution. Collateral. Collateral is guaranteeing something worth a certain portion of the loan. What that means is if you go for a loan for $100,000, the assumption is that you're going to inject a portion or have some skin in the game. For a startup business, that condition is typically 20 to 25% of the amount of the loan. So if the total startup is $100,000, the assumption is you're going to inject roughly $25,000 into the venture, and you would guarantee or collateralize the loan for 100%. It's not in every case for every loan that collateral is required, but it is for many cases. There are also different kinds of loans. There's traditional bank loans. There's term loans, which is a loan where you will close on the loan and start paying it back 30 days after you close, just like a mortgage or a car loan. Then there's a line of credit where you have a certain amount of money open to you, and you only start paying it back once you start borrowing. So there's different kinds of loans. And we can help identify what loan makes the most sense for you. Capital investment I went over, that's the skin in the game that the bank is just assuming you're going to have. And the capacity to repay, you're going to put a financial projection together with us, and we're going to determine how much you're going to be able to repay. And we don't want you to borrow. We certainly don't want you to borrow if you don't need it. If you don't need money, people say, Ree, I think I want a loan because I just want to have a cushion. A loan's not a gift, it's a loan. You have to start repaying it, in the case of a term loan, 30 days after you close. So if you don't need it, definitely don't borrow. It's something you can always go for later. And it's easier to get a loan once your business is in existence. Mature companies have a greater likelihood of approval rather than startups. So if you don't need it, absolutely don't borrow. And we can help tailor your startup budget to make something that makes more sense for you. So you don't have to look for outside money. So maybe you can start with seed money that you already have, or you and your partners have if you have a business partner. Any questions on the financing? Any questions on any of the 5 C's?
Oh, yes. Julie would like to know, is there a way to use existing equipment that a person, an artist specifically, may own for the business that they start up? For an example, computer, printer, paint, then be able to use it as a business expense the next tax year?
Within the next tax year is reasonable, yes, you can. Just, it was Julie that asked the question. Julie, just make sure you save your receipts. Like literally people say, I have the receipts, make sure you save the receipts. Or at least if you paid with a credit card, maybe highlight on that credit card statement and keep it with your documents with for your taxes. And everybody, for your business expenses, keep those documents in case, heaven forbid, you get audited.
Okay, we're good.
Awesome. We're actually almost done. So we went over a lot of this already. I went over it as I was going over the distinctions. So how you file depends on the legal business distinction. So I'll go over really quickly to recap. So the sole proprietorship or general partnership, you'll file a Schedule C attachment to your 1040 tax return. You assume all personal liability. You can mitigate the risk of liability by having adequate business insurance, but you're still legally responsible if, heaven forbid, something happens with your business. A S corporation or regular corporation will file an 1120 for a regular corporation and 1120S for an S corporation. And you only pay personal income tax based on however much income the business draws. For the S corporation, the regular corporation subject to corporate tax as well as personal income tax as shareholders or owners. And then the LLC files an attachment to the regular tax return. And like the sole proprietorship or general partnership and S corporation, they also only pay personal income tax. Some products and services are subject to sales tax, some are not. We will help let you know which ones are subject to sales tax and which ones are not. Another note on anybody who has to collect sales tax. You will only, if you only have a business presence in New York State, meaning you only have an office, store, whatever in New York State, you only collect from New York State residents. You only collect sales tax from New York State residents. That being said, New York State has 100 sales tax jurisdictions. So the sales tax rate in Suffolk County is different than the sales tax rate in Buffalo or Rochester or Syracuse or Ithaca. So you have to collect sales tax based on the jurisdiction of the customer who is buying from you. So again, your current attorney or accountant can help you with this. Many point of sales intake systems like QuickBooks and some of the other packages that are out there that can help you maintain your income and expenses and can even do payroll for you, as well as accounts payable and accounts receivable can automatically calculate that for you. But just bear in mind, you will only collect sales tax from New York State residents unless you have presence in another state, in which you will collect sales tax from that state as well. Every single one of you as a business owner will get an EIN number or employee identification number. That number is a number you get from the IRS, which identifies your business as a tax-paying business. It's kind of like a social security number for your business. Sole proprietorships with no employees can actually use their social security number instead of an EIN number, but I recommend that you don't do that. You don't want your social security number, floating around more than it has to be floating around. So I recommend getting an EIN number from the outset, even if you're sole proprietorship with no employees. Okay, any questions on any of those?
Yes, and I'm going to put two of these questions together. Julie is asking, do receipts need to be within that tax year? But also Angela is asking, how long are you required to keep your receipts and business paperwork? Years? How long?
Okay. I'll answer the first one first. If it's the prior tax year and you're utilizing it for this tax year, like I think she said art equipment or something like that, you keep it with this tax year and it's acceptable with it within the last 2 years if you're utilizing it. If it's something that's very expensive and depreciable, your accountant will depreciate that for you as well. So that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is the rule of thumb is 5 years to hang on to it. Most documents now can be found electronically, so it's not necessarily that you have a lot of paper lying around, but if you get audited, you want to make sure you have access to that document.
Oh, so if you only have a presence in New York and
Mhm.
collect New York state taxes, but are also doing business in another state, not physically there though, do you collect taxes for that state as well?
What do you mean not physically?
Would
Like
you
you have
like,
an employee
would you-
there? Yeah, have them
yeah,
Yes,
unmute.
so like, you don't have like an office set up there. You're doing more like online business. So you might have, or you might be dealing with customers that are out of state in different states. Do you have to collect sales tax for those states and, pay them as well?
No, because your customers are located in those states, not you. So when I mean
Ah.
you, that means you might have an employee that's there that has, a secondary office. If that's the case, then you collect sales tax in that state. But having customers doesn't mean having a presence. You can have customers anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
that was the last one.
Alrighty. Licenses, permits. New York State is a very license and permit heavy state. So if you don't know whether or not you need a license or a permit, come to us, we'll let you know. Some industries will require more than one. For example, when I work with people who work in construction, they will require a home improvement license for home construction, home improvement in every county in which they do business. So they'll need one in Nassau County, they'll need one in Suffolk County, they'll need one in the boroughs if they do business in New York City. So in order to make sure you're not out of compliance, come to see us and we'll review with you whether or not you need a license or a permit. Federal, state, and local agencies may also require you to be licensed and or permitted. For example, many occupations are licensed by the New York State Department of Education. If you are a physician or an accountant or an attorney or an architect, or a nurse practitioner, many of the health fields in healthcare require licensing from the State Department of Education. You may also require federal licensing. So I work with physicians who may need a number from the Drug Enforcement Agency because they are prescribing things that are controlled substances. So you want to make sure that before you hang your shingle, you have the appropriate licensure and or permit. And sometimes people don't know because you don't know what you don't know. And have I had clients come in that are working without a permit and a license? Yes, and it always scares me. So as soon as they come see me, I instruct them to get it ASAP. Any other questions on any of that? And yes, there are costs associated with most of these, with getting a license and or permit.
Oh, in New York State, do you need a seller's permit to sell online?
No.
That was the last one.
That was the last one. Okay, super. All right, so that was everything. Our phone number is on here as well as our website. You will have access to this recording, Leslie, like later today, probably.
I'm telling everyone to wait 5 to 7 business days because we like to clean up the video. And we do have 2 more quick questions, but
okay, yeah. So actually, it's 10:01. So I finished a minute later than I thought I would. But I am going to be here for as long as anybody has questions. So yeah, please go ahead.
okay. For those of you that must leave now, I put out in the chat to contact us if you want to become a client, but also when you leave the Zoom, a survey will pop up. Please take the time to answer this survey, not just because it's mandated by the SBA, the Small Business Administration, but so that we can get an idea of future workshops to offer. So there's that. All right,
For
Ree.
those of you who are leaving, I wish the best of luck and I hope I see you in the future. And enjoy this beautiful weather.
All right, the first one is, what if you occasionally sell in person at markets? Oh, is there a licensing distinction between a business that here we go, that prepares food versus prepackaged prepared off-site.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you are selling goods that you are preparing, that you're making, you have a few options. Actually, whoever's asking this question, so I can best answer it, have them unmute.
It's because Manny has a couple of questions he's
Yeah,
popped
Manny,
in
you
there.
can unmute.
Yeah, so I'm kind of thinking about starting a business either as like a cafe
Mhm.
with full food service or just like a coffee house where it's just serving drinks.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to kind of understand what those different options are and the implications for like the licensing and like the regulations around like the food service.
Yep.
So that's kind of where the question is coming from. So like
Sure.
if I wanted to offer food, is if I don't have a full working kitchen, like is there a different set of regulations that would govern if I were to say get some prepackaged things from like bakeries or other businesses within town?
Yes. So there is a difference in licensing. So a cafe would be a full service restaurant. That would be the license from the Suffolk County Department of Health. The coffee shop you said before, sorry. And you're getting foods where you don't have a full kitchen would be called a limited service restaurant. So the licensing would just be a different set of licenses, but you will need a food manager's license for you as an individual with either case. And when you come to see us and work with us, we'll direct you to which one you'll need. But they will, to answer your question, they will be different. Did that help?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome.
All right. I just answered Philip about SEEP. Anyone else who's in the SEEP program, just PDF us your paperwork. We'll take care of it.
Oh, yeah. No
All
problem.
right. And Lavinia, we'd like to schedule a meeting to do the financial statement. I would call me at the end of this workshop. I think you know our number. I believe you're already a client, but I'm not sure.
Lavinia, now was
Okay.
Lavinia she needed the help with the financial statements, the P&L, I think in the balance sheet?
Yes. Yes.
We actually do have a CPA on our staff. Any of us can do the financial projection, the financial statements, but we do have a CPA on our staff and she is the expert. So that might make the most sense for her, less.
Okay, good. I will remember that. And Angela's asking as a follow-up to her tax question,
Sure.
why is she charged taxes when she makes a catalog purchase that are in other states, New York state tax, but they charge her that?
Probably because the entity that she is purchasing from has a presence in the state of New York.
But it's like almost every catalog purchase now, like no matter where.
So there is a law, and this was called kind of the Amazon law before Amazon was ubiquitous and literally everywhere, where these kind of like entities have to charge sales tax everywhere. That will not apply to small businesses, but they probably do have a warehouse or a back office or an employee somewhere, and that's why those you get charged New York State. Those aren't small businesses; those are large businesses. So
Okay. Okay, so there's a distinction between a large business and a small business
well, because
as far
many
as collecting taxes,
charging taxes, yeah, collecting and
charging.
correct, yeah.
Huh, okay.
And it all has to do with their presence, where they're present.
Okay, thank you.
And someone else is asking, how does working from anywhere affect compliances?
Working from anywhere. Well, you have to be licensed appropriately in the state in which you're based. So you have to have an address somewhere. So could you take so you could be a New York State CPA and have to be licensed as a CPA, a certified public accountant with the New York State Department of Education. Can you take your business on the go when you're on vacation in Paris? Sure. But you still have to be licensed in the place where your business resides. Does that answer that? Did that answer the question?
I believe so.
Okay.
And thank you for all the kudos, everyone.
Thank you very much for that answer.
Oh, you're welcome, everyone. You're welcome. I
Yeah,
hope
it was
you all
great.
found this valuable and that you're very successful in the ventures that you're going into. And please, by all means, come and see us. You know, again, our tax dollars pay to keep us in business and to keep you in business. So please come see us. You know, it would be our pleasure. And this is what we do. This is what we love, is to help see your dreams come to fruition. So come see us.
All right. Thank you,
No
everyone.
other questions, everyone?
No other questions.
You folks were a great group. And again, I wish you, for those that are still here, sorry, dropped my glasses. I wish you all the best of luck and hope to see you in the future. Happy Thursday and happy start to
you.
your weekend, everyone. Take good care.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Les.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.